This is a new day for Detroit. Detroit's first national television network has been developed to help redefine the city in the new millennium.
Sometimes it just takes one change.
We will beam our content and our programming to the cities and nations of the world.
The once vibrant Ford Auditorium will soon be home to the World Stage Theater.
We need a stage that's so distinguishable that could house live plays, live talk shows, movie premieres.
Will you join with us? Help us lay the foundation of a new industry, the industry of the arts.
Somewhere in the mind is the imagination. A limitless world of ideas and endless possibilities. What if that world were a city eager to see better days? And what if those ideas were formed by the people who live in that city? And what if those endless possibilities led to a new and exciting industry within the city, capturing minds and imaginations? Imagine Detroit.
You know, it was a little more than 26 years ago. I was barely 26 years old. And there was a dream and a vision in my heart for a television network, a television station from Detroit. I didn't own a VCR at the time. It sounded absurd and ridiculous to people, but now, some 27 years later, not only do we have TV stations, but we have a television network that is now preparing to launch from Detroit to the nations of the world an entire new series of content-based programming, networks. It's going to be very, very exciting. But it wasn't very easy from the beginning, and so let's take a look back at what it was like.
1982 was an important year for media and entertainment. Late Night with David Letterman premiered on NBC. The first issue of USA Today was published. And Michael Jackson released his now classic album, Thriller. 1982 was also the year the Christian Television Network was birthed.
As I reflect back on the very beginning of CTN in 1982, cable television was brand spanking new, and I saw the expansion of this network that I called it, that would be on cable, on satellite. Now, I didn't see the internet because the internet really didn't even exist. I didn't even know what the internet was at that time. That's when we began.
I met Glenn Plummer in the basement of his home. We were doing some editing on a project that I was working on. And while we were doing the editing, there's plenty of time to talk, and he shared with me about the vision of how he wanted to start a Christian television station in the city of Detroit, the first black-owned Christian television station.
I remember being a young kid, listening to my father spell out the vision of what he wanted to accomplish, and, just how vast it was at the time. Of course, I didn't really fully understand, how big of a vision it was. But as time went on and as I began to work with my dad, I realized, man, this is actually pretty big.
I had applied to the FCC for a new license for a TV station, Channel 45. We were all praying and believing that any day we're going to get this letter from the FCC. I remember the day when I went to our P.O. box and I got our letters. And I saw the FCC letter was there. And I, put it in the car, and I was driving back to the office, and I couldn't even wait to get upstairs. And I remember opening the letter, sitting in my car right next to the building. And I opened up this letter, and it was about a 3 to 4 page letter. And I started reading it, and I'm telling you, about halfway through the first page, it wasn't sounding right. And I didn't even read the second page. I went right to the end to see what's the there for. And they said, we denied you. They said, they denied us. I couldn't believe it. I sat there and tears welled up in my eyes. I couldn't keep the tears in. And I began to cry, and I couldn't, I didn't have words. We never even thought they would say no. I went through a season for about the next 2 years that I would refer to as the death of a vision, where
the vision had been so alive in me, and I had seen it, and I was able to communicate to other people. Other people saw it, they read it, they began to run with me, they were preparing, they were excited. And then it looked like everything was dashed against the stones. Someone vandalized our building, wrote "Satan Lives." They busted the banisters. They took our master tapes that we were just developing, ripped them out of the case, the cassettes. It was terrible. It was terrible.
And we looked at each other one day and we said, "This is too much. This is something we can't do. This is more than we can do."
There was a quickening one day. First of all, we just applied for another channel, 48. And the spark was when we got the letter back from the FCC, and it actually said, approved. You know, I thought, well, where are we going to get the money? And so it took us another couple of years, actually, to raise the money, and we finally put that first TV station on the air in 1991.
We were there, we started and doing sales and planning and building and architecture, and we got to the point where raising money, trying to raise money, trying to do what we could.
I had promised him that I would help him get on the air, and I figured that'd be about 3 months and then I would move on. Well, that was 18 years ago.
I really believe that what Satan was trying to do was to stop all the work. He tried to stop it before, and then he tried to stop it again. And here we are today, reaching millions and millions of people on there.
We are on the air right now as I'm speaking. We are broadcasting over this 1,000-foot tower.
Just looking back from all the many steps it took to get to this point, you can definitely feel inspired and know that, you know, this was a God thing.
As I reflect upon the grace of God on my life and on the life of our operation, it is really astounding. And now here we are, 26 years later, and now we see the expansion of the dream that we had.
Over the past 25 plus years, CTN has developed from being a low-power entity seen by few to one of the preeminent local television stations in both Detroit and New Orleans. Its influence reaches not only into the urban market, but also into the homes of the surrounding suburban areas. But as the nation braces for change, so does CTN, as it prepares for its most ambitious efforts to date, built right on the back of Detroit's prosperous past.